This is Mid-Atlantic Women in Agriculture's Wednesday webinar on analytics. Our presenter today is Christy Mannering, web developer with University of Delaware. You can view our upcoming webinars and our archived webinars at our website. And thank you to our sponsor, Mid-Atlantic Farm Credit.
So basically, analytics is really all about measuring. So you're measuring your reach, you're measuring your performance, and there'll be a lot of talk about strategy and campaigns and making sure that all of the time and effort you put into this actually leads you somewhere. So a little bit about me if you've not had a webinar with me before. Again, my name's Christy. That's my email address right there, cmaneri@udel.edu. Please feel free to contact me at any time. I am a self-proclaimed nerd. I absolutely love doing these webinars. I love social media. I love being a web developer, so I'm pretty passionate about it. These are the personal and professional Facebook and Twitter accounts. I have, I believe, 9 to 12 pages that I monitor now for the college, and 3 or 4 Twitter handles that I monitor. So it's definitely keeps me busy in addition to the web. So I do feel like it's important to keep up on how you analyze these things so that you know what is going to work for you. So I already talked about this a little bit, but understanding analytics is important because of your return on investment, which is a marketing term. ROI is a marketing term, and it's a business term, and you don't always think about that with education and extension, but I think it's important because we all know, especially with end-of-the-year reports, how many times are you asked for what's your impact? You put so much work into something, what's your impact? How are you reaching people, and how are they engaging with you, and are they using what you're teaching them? So learning analytics for the online component, for the digital component, can be really helpful in those reports. So that's just a little bit about why it's important. So now what is it? It's an opportunity for you to create benchmarks, to create campaigns, and to have goals. So if you set a goal and then you attain the goal and then you can report on that. So knowing the results, knowing the impact of things is very important. So if you have a seminar or an event, you can discuss the impact from your digital standpoint as well. So you can discuss how farmers or agents or master gardeners interact with you while you're having the seminar, but you can also discuss on how they interact and engage with you online, because that's also now become a very important part of sharing your materials. So for the website, the best analytic tools are free. They're Google Analytics and Google Webmaster Tools. I use them both. I receive Google Analytic reports on a regular basis. You can schedule very specific reports from the dashboard and have them emailed to you weekly or monthly. You can also email them to other people. So we have a field crop disease website set up, the pages are set up, and those particular page measurements, the traffic to that site, goes specifically to Nathan, who is in our plant pathology program, and he gets those every week, so he knows exactly what content his readers are most interested in and are clicking on, and it's important for him. So we do have several different things already scheduled ahead of time, and I think it allows you to schedule out for 6 months, so it will expire. You do have to continue to redo those scheduled emails, but Google Analytics allows you to share that with other users, which I think is important because it's good for them to hear from you, the reports, but when they get the Excel spreadsheet or the PDF, however you set it up, to send to them in their own inbox, they can go through it more leisurely and it might end up making more sense, or they'll be more likely to ask you questions. So then in addition, there are Google Webmaster Tools, and this is incredibly important for search engine optimization insights, the SEO insights, because it will tell you exactly what keywords people are using to get to your content. So we'll go through that more specifically. Here's a screenshot of a Google Analytics dashboard, and there's a ton of things in here. The real-time one is it puts a sort of like a heat map on top of your website, and you can see where people are clicking real-time. I feel like that would be good for maybe a shopping website. I don't know that it's always necessarily the most useful information for a content information-driven website, which is about research and might not be regularly real-time useful. But the tab that I use most is the behavior tab, which I broke out that section for you to see. But it allows you to see your site speed, which I feel is very important for responsiveness and accessibility of your website. You can find out how long it's taking for things to load. So with our new website, we have a lot of, it's photo driven. We have a lot of really big, beautiful photos, but we have to check our site speed to make sure the photos are optimized so that the site's not taking forever to load. And also, it allows us to see which elements of the website we should turn off in a style sheet for mobile devices. So if it's taking a long time to load on a desktop, we want to make sure to either optimize it better or turn it off in the mobile style sheet. So it's important to know that. Also, the content. So on the behavior tab, if you click on site content, you get options to look at all pages, a content drill down, landing pages, and exit pages. So you can see in our breakout here for this current month, our sites had 33,000 page views, and 7,000 of them are our main page. But right now, probably because it has been the end of the fiscal year, we have had a lot of people looking on our staff resources page. All of our policies and procedures and documents that they need for their end of the year reporting and things like that is all accessible there. So that is most likely internal clicks there. Another thing is that we have a lot of people looking at our department landing pages and our department faculty. So you can see here exactly the most popular pages for the past month, and then you have an opportunity to drill down further. So if we were on the screen right now and we clicked down, content, drill down, you would see once they clicked on About Us, staff resources, where did they go next? And so that information is incredibly valuable for knowing strategically where to put content. The other options are landing pages and exit pages. So you can see where somebody entered your site and where somebody exited your site. So again, if you were a shop and you were selling things, you would want to see your checkout or your cart page at the top of the exit page list. So further on the behavior tab is something called behavior flow. I'm a very visual person, so I like to be able to see things mapped out in this way. Excel spreadsheets are fine, but sometimes it's easier for me to be able to explain to my supervisor or to our extension agents who want to know how people are navigating their site. The behavior flow allows me to export this flow chart, which shows the interactions. So you get the landing page, and then you get their interactions all the way up to 3 interactions, which is really impressive. It drills down, and it shows you exactly the amount of sessions, and then if people drop off. So it's important to know if they go to your faculty page and 2,000 people go there, but then 1,800 drop off, then they're not finding the content that they want to as easily. Moving on for the sake of time, Google Webmaster, they just updated this dashboard, which now they're calling a console, in May of 2015. So they have listened to feedback from different developers and what we would like to know. You can see here in this screenshot, this is for our College of Agricultural and Natural Resources site, and we currently have 1,800 broken links. So this is mostly in part because we just changed our domain, and this allows me an opportunity to print out a report of the links that are broken and fix them. It also is because people are linking to our old page, and so they're getting broken link and 404 reports as well. So as a developer, this is important for me to know. Also, if you can look to the left of this image, these are some of the different things you can access through the Webmaster Tools. It gives you your search analytics, links to your site, internal links where you cross-reference your own content, and mobile usability. So in terms of responsiveness and accessibility, the mobile usability tab is incredibly important. I know the University of Delaware is making a huge initiative in making sure that our websites are accessible for ADA compliancy, so I'm sure other universities and extension programs are doing the same thing. So that allows you to see the mobile usability for your site, but it also will explain to you how responsive your site is. So depending on the different device somebody's looking at it on, if they're able to see all of the content. So furthermore, in the search traffic area of this console, one of the things that I find most interesting is who's linking to us and what they're linking to. So right now there are 65,000 people linking to our site, and if I were to click on more, I could show all 65,000 links, but you can see that the people linking to us most are the University of Delaware, so it's other university pages. And then we have globalspecies.org who's linking to our content, and then it shows what they're linking to specifically. So all of our University of Delaware news articles link directly back to our college website, so that's the most linked. Likewise, most of our press releases have that link in it as well, so if they get published somewhere, that shows up as a hit. But the reason this information is incredibly important is because you can then link back to them if they have content which pertains to your audience. And in developing that online relationship, you're more likely to improve your search ranks. Because with Google, the more people linking to your site, the higher ranking you will receive in terms of search engine optimization, because it appears that your content is most valuable if people are linking to that content. I hope that makes sense. Oh yes, and as Shannon has typed into the chat pod, which I just looked over to, if there are any questions at all, you can ask in the chat pod. If I can't answer them right away, I'll definitely answer them as soon as I can. And moving on. So because the bulk of the analytics that are more difficult to get and you might be using more frequently are social media, I wanted to focus most of the presentation on that. So what is your social media ROI? Well, different metrics you can get through social media are your reach. So that would be your followers on Twitter, your fans or your likes on Facebook. I know more and more professional people are using LinkedIn, so your connections on LinkedIn. And then your traffic, the reach, so not just your reach on social media, but also the reach to your website. So if you're linking to something on your website, if you have a blog post, you link on your social media, that connection. So that's a reach. That's how somebody is referring. It's a referral to your domain, to your website. And then leads are who's sharing and engaging. So if somebody signed up for a newsletter, that would be considered a lead. If you posted an event on Facebook and somebody hit the little plus sign that they were interested in attending, that would be considered a lead. So in terms of developing your impacts and your reports at the end of the year or throughout the year, these are different things that you can measure. Facebook analytics are a lot of fun. I enjoy looking at the analytics, and I actually have a bulletin board in my office where I have printed out some of our best reaching posts and actually posted them up there. I think it's very exciting when something's successful, and I want to see the trends in that. So the built-in insights in Facebook are what I use the most, but there are other free analytic tools, and so I just posted 3 of them here. One is called Quinsley, and you can use it across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google+, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Of course, it's limited if you use the free version, but the information is still really interesting. There's one called Agora Pulse, and the free part of that is something called a Facebook page barometer. And what it does is it analyzes your page and figures out what it's comparable to and then compares it to other pages. There's also a free tool through Agora Pulse that allows you to run contests. So we haven't done too many contests, but we've done one where somebody won a U Dairy Creamery gift certificate, and so using Agora Pulse would make it easier for you. So if you said to post a picture or post a comment or the 50th like of our page will get this gift certificate, then Agora Pulse has a tool which will do that for you. Then there's Likealizer, and it is interesting because it identifies problems. So if there are issues on your page, it will tell you what they are and it will give you tips on how to improve. And then, of course, the metrics for Facebook we all know are how many likes do you have, how many people are commenting, what are your shares, what are your reach, and we're going to go through that a little bit. So I apologize, Facebook Insights cut off a little bit, but I wanted to show this screenshot. I took it this morning, so it would be up to date. This is the University of Delaware's College screenshot, and it right off the bat, when you click Insights, which is below the search bar on the top of the Facebook page, there's a horizontal menu. Insights is one of them, and you click there, and then you have a whole plethora of information that you can get to. Right off the bat, it will show you an overview. So it shows you your page likes, your post reach, and your engagement. So ours, unfortunately, is going down according to this morning's screen grab, but our page likes have gone up. It's just that we had more content to share last week, and so we were doing well. And this information is very useful to have. I also appreciate that it compares it from this week to last week in a graph, especially if you're reporting on campaigns to somebody else in a report. Having graphs and these numbers and percentages seems to be what most people like to have. So it gives them to you. You don't have to do any of those calculations yourself. And then, well, we already discussed this, but it shows page likes versus post reach. So reach is a question I get a lot. What does that mean? What is a reach? Why do I sometimes have a reach greater than the number of people who actually like my page? So this is how many people are actually seeing your content in their news feed. And if it shows up in somebody's news feed that isn't a fan of your page, but their friend is, they are still likely to be able to see it, which is really interesting. Sorry, I'm being told that I'm going to lose my place as host if I don't sign back in as Michelle Walford, because she has our host account. Okay, I did that. So that's post reach. It averages it for you per week. And then the page likes, we all know, is if someone comes to your page and likes it. You can see trends in that, which is useful. So when we had our Ag Day, our trend went up. When we had Ag Day and we were posting that event information, a lot more people were liking our content during that week. So the trends are useful. So then post-specific, this is the part that I will print out when I get excited. You can see our posts for the 5 most recent, but you can also expand it to see the posts forever. You can print out reports that go back through history of all your posts. And it gives you really, really interesting data. First, it'll tell you if you have targeted anyone. So when Ag Day came around, we targeted our local community, and it will show you how many people in Newark, Delaware, for instance, saw your content, which is really interesting. It will also show you your reach. So it'll show you organic or paid. Ag Day is the only time we ever paid for something, and it was pretty impressive, the reach we had. So I'd be willing to talk about boosting posts later if you're interested, but that's not really an analytics topic. And so I pulled out one of our most recent posts, this one regarding 2 of our students getting scholarships, and I wanted to show this to you because in the post we linked to a story, and then we tagged things. So we tagged the University of Delaware, we tagged the National FFA organization, and we tagged the Grow Ag Leaders because one of the scholarships came from the America's Farmers Grow Ag Leaders. And so in tagging those 3 other pages, we automatically boosted our reach. So we do not have 1,388 people who like our page, but we were able to reach that many people because we tagged other pages. And in doing so, we received 76 different engagements. So there were different likes, comments, and shares, And another thing you can see here when you click further onto the post link is any negative feedback as well. So we did have one person of the 1,388 hide our post. But the most important thing here is if somebody reports you as spam, because then Facebook is less likely to show your content in a newsfeed. So every now and then, just make sure to go through your content, go through your posts, and make sure nobody is reporting your content as spam, because that could negatively impact your reach. Then another thing you can do is if you click on Insights and then the sub menu, which is underneath it, click on Posts, it will tell you the insights for post types. So much like you would think, a college audience likes videos. So when we post videos, our average reach is much higher than if we post links, photos, or plain text updates. So it's just interesting to see. And again, this is over 3 months, so it's not our whole time. And there might be other times when just photos do a great job. When we had people post their jack-o'-lantern carvings in October, those photos did fantastic, but that was October, so more than 3 months ago. But either way, it shows you your average reach and average engagement, and it really, you can't beat that. If somebody asks you, well, what type of post does best, you go here, you look at that, and you say, oh, well, with our particular audience, video does best. So for extension, if you go out in the field and you see a certain insect or you see a disease on a crop, if you do a 10-second video and post it up to Facebook, it could be incredibly impactful. It's engaging. People are more likely to share it, and so it's very recommended. And I believe this is the last Facebook portion of this segment, but another thing to do, especially for reporting on campaigns, is Facebook allows insight exports. So you can actually pick a post range, either page, post, or video. Again, video is very useful in social media. People like video best. But you do the date range, it spits out an Excel spreadsheet for you. You can save it to your computer, and you can look through it more at your leisure. But it allows, I believe there's 4 different tabs on it and maybe 20 different columns. It has a plethora of information, a ton of information, and you can sort it by most reach, highest reach, most engagement, and that allows you to see trends as well, because you can sort in the Excel and pick out the data a little bit differently than if you were using the Insight tool within Facebook. Moving on to Twitter. Twitter Analytics developed their own tool in the summer of 2014, so they've had it a little over a year now, and it's delightful because prior to that it was almost impossible to figure out your analytics on Twitter without spending a whole lot of time clicking and digging and counting and calculating on your own. So we're mostly going to go through those analytics, but the metrics for Twitter would be your retweets, mentions, replies, favorites, and lists. Other tools for Twitter, there are less free tools for Twitter than there are for Facebook, mostly because the analytics didn't really exist until a year ago. Twitterlizer is free, or was free up until 2012, but now it's paid. There are 50 different metrics when you use Twitterlizer, so if you do have any sort of budget for anything paid related to Twitter, I would recommend Twitterlizer. And then for those of you who do use Twitter, you probably sometimes see a post regarding a URL that says Sum All. So Sum All sort of just tracks your Twitter account behind the scenes without you really doing anything, and it'll say, it'll tweet out to somebody and say, thank you, you were our most influential followers for the week, you were our most active followers for the week. We use this for my son, Braden. He has his own nonprofit called Bray's Brown Bags, and when Sum All tweets out about his active followers, normally they favorite it and share it and thank it, and it helps a lot there. Oh, see, Heather has asked a question. To reduce the likelihood about someone reporting as spam, so this is on Facebook, I apologize for just now seeing it, but yes. So mostly the strategies are, one, don't post more than 5 times a day. Really, I would say 3 times a day tops. Typically, my coworker and I, we post once a day, especially during the summer, or we'll post in the morning, we'll post in the evening. So in the morning, we'll post about research when we know people are more likely to look at that type of material, whereas our students are more likely to look at our Facebook account in the evening. So we'll post a student-related spotlight then. So the frequency in which you post is very, very critical to being reported as spam, but also making sure it doesn't sound like a pitch, I guess would be the right word to use. But you want to share your content, but for educational purposes, you're not really pitching anything. You're just saying, you know what, congrats for the grant that we just received. Make sure that you link to the people who gave you the grant if they have a Facebook page, and then maybe not specifically type in the cash amount of the grant, because there's certain symbols, like the currency symbol, and if you write words in all caps, there's different things like that, and it's very similar to email. So if you send an email and it shows up in somebody's junk account, it's usually based on something that was in the subject line of that email or the first sentence of that email, and Facebook is similar. So if it thinks you're posting to a link that doesn't pertain to your content, it will penalize you, and it could be posted as spam for that. And so there are sometimes, and I think it's mostly because they think the page has been hacked when that happens. For us, we have never been posted as spam, but the one time I was worried about it was when we were talking about a recipe contest. We were hosting a recipe contest, and I was afraid that by constantly trying to talk about it and get people to enter, that it would get marked as spam. So I just made sure to post at different times of the day, and even post on the weekends and not just during the week. So I think that would be the best strategy, your frequency and the time of day that you post. Sorry if that was long-winded. Back to Twitter. Another thing other than Sumall is Riffle. It's a funny sounding word, and it's an actual browser extension, so you'd have to install it onto your browser. You're welcome, Heather. So Riffle is a real-time overlay, and the reason this is cool with Twitter is because Twitter is a real-time tool. People go to Twitter to find out what's happening right now. When there's breaking news out there, whether it might be sharks or jellyfish or whatever it is, you know that if you go to Twitter and search, everybody's going to be talking about it right now. So having Riffle overlay over top of your Twitter to see exactly what's going on and who's writing about which hashtags is really helpful. And interesting, if you ask me. So this has a lot of text on it, but basically the Twitter Analytics built-in tool that you can get does all of this. So this is going to be downloadable as a PDF once we get to the end of this presentation, so don't worry about trying to write down anything or read all of that. But I just wanted to show the sheer, just grasp exactly how much information the Twitter Analytics tool can give you. And similarly to Facebook Insights, there is such a wealth of information that you probably wouldn't even have thought about. But when you go into the Analytics tool, it can be overwhelming. So the most important one, for me, in my opinion, is the engagement. So that's the second bullet here. So it'll tell you the total number of times a user interacts with something that you tweet. And that can include clicks, retweets, replies, follows, favorites, even if they click on a certain hashtag. So I find that very useful because we use different hashtags for field crops, or FarmDE is a hashtag we use, and I like when I see that somebody's clicked on that because it means that that hashtag was useful to them, and I'm more likely to use that hashtag again in the future. So that information is really interesting and can be very helpful. And in fact, I would even say to create your own little spreadsheet on your computer to share with other people who monitor and maintain your social media accounts. Just have it as shared. It could be a shared Google Doc. And if they notice a hashtag that is very useful, and just put it in there, or if they notice a Twitter handle that is more likely to retweet your content, put it in there and just have it saved so that you know the trends and you can follow those other people. So the extra details, this is like in Facebook, if you click on the link to the post, it opens up and gives you those other extra details. This is exactly the same thing in Twitter. So if you click on a tweet, it opens up and you can get specific details. You can sort it by how many tweets and replies it gets, by date, or by your top tweets. So here it shows us we had just under 9,000 impressions over the last 28 days. There's no way we would have known that without this tool, though, because you might have 300 followers, but if somebody retweets your content and they have 10,000 followers, you've now increased your impressions because the people who they're following, or, you know, it's hard to be able to tell that without a tool like this, because otherwise you'd have to click on every single person who engaged with your tweet and count up how many impressions it's possible that you got. So this has made my job a lot easier, being able to see this, because I can say for the month of June we were able to reach 9,000 people with our tweets. So that's a very impactful number. And also, like with Facebook, it allows you to export your data so that you have the spreadsheet on your desktop and you can sort it and break it out and create charts the way that is best for you and your team. So this allows you to pick out certain things. If you know we have the Delaware State Fair coming up, we will have a Delaware State Fair social media campaign. So if we use a specific hashtag, DE State Fair 2015, for instance, we can then export all of our tweets from that period of time and then sort by that hashtag and figure out just how many people we were able to reach and engage with over that period of time because we used that hashtag for that campaign. And that will show the success of our campaign. So those metrics are incredibly important in both learning what your users want and also finding out when they're engaging with you. So other accounts and tools that people use are Pinterest, Google+, Instagram, YouTube I forgot to add on here, but YouTube is used, although it's also a Google tool. Now, Pinterest, as we know, is geared mostly towards females, and it is very visual, so I think that this would work beautifully with programs like Family and Consumer Sciences, who might have food educators, or food safety, which would have visual parts to their research. In addition, lawn and garden, who would have gardening, vegetable, fruit gardening. You could share recipes, but you would also link back to how to do preservation of the food, how to do canning of the food safety tips for grilling, things like that. So that's all perfect for Pinterest. The metrics, of course, would be repins, likes, comments, and clicks through from your website. And the way that you would get that information is through, well, looking at Pinterest. There aren't that many analytic tools for these programs right now, for these platforms right now. They are out there, but the clicks through from your website is all available through Google Analytics and Google Webmaster Tools. So you would be able to see if Pinterest is referring people to your content, and you could type that in, look for Pinterest as a referring link. So that is how I would measure that information. Google+, I will admit to you, we do not use it like we should. Why should we use Google+? Because you are more likely to be ranked better if you share your content and it gets shared by other people on Google+. Why? Because the Google search engine is the most used search engine, and of course Google+ is their product, and therefore you get sort of brownie points if your content is being shared across Google+. The metrics to measure here are click-throughs, but also the +1s, comments, shares, and views. So you can see if somebody +1 something, if they +1 it and they share it, then it is very likely that that content will move up in the search results if somebody searches for content in Google. Instagram, that's all very picture, that's for a younger crowd, I believe. There are not many tools to measure the metrics in this, but you can share from Instagram to Twitter and to Facebook if you connect your accounts. And so our photographer, Lindsay, often does that. If she is out in the field and she catches I don't know, a cool sunrise or a cool sunset, or she sees a beautiful bird out in the wetlands and she snaps a picture. If she shares it to Instagram, then it will also share to our other accounts. And so you can get the metrics that way also. So if she shares from Instagram to Twitter, then the Twitter analytics will give me those metric measurements. If she shares from Instagram to Facebook, then the Facebook insights will give me those metric measurements. As for Instagram, you can only view it on a mobile app. I think you can view it in a browser, but you can't interact. And the way that you can measure it is through likes, comments, and followers. Instagram is very hashtag oriented now, so hashtags can also be measured through Twitter, as we talked about earlier. And a tool that I prefer to use in measuring hashtags is called Hashtagify. Which isn't really an analytics tool so much as it is how many other people in the world are using this hashtag tool. So I find that very useful. Quickly, best paid tools is Hootsuite. The University of Delaware loves Hootsuite. They have the enterprise version of Hootsuite. I will tell you we are not using it as a college anymore because it got too expensive for us, but there was value in it. It did have a lot of built-in trend spotters and built-in tools that you could schedule, and you could see other people who maintain your accounts. You could see what they were doing. It would also tell you the best time of day it thought for you to post. We found that by using Hootsuite to post our content, we were getting penalized by Facebook. And we tested it out by saying if we posted content through Hootsuite, how was our reach? If we posted similar content directly through Facebook, how was our reach? And we were finding posting directly through Facebook improved our reach. So we stopped using Hootsuite. As a paid tool, it is valuable in that it shows you trends. So I do miss that. I miss being able to say what's trending in environmental science right now, and then thinking about what faculty, what agents we have that are focused on those efforts, and then sharing their research and their content. Three others are Social Oomph, Social Flow, Social Bro, you can see the trend there, and Crowd Booster. And so all of them, their goal is to get you more followers and to get you more reach. And I don't use any of them, but across all of the blogs that I read and all of the newsletters I get, they are the most prevalently said as being the best tools out there for social media. So just wanted to give you that information.
Thank you for watching our archived presentation of our Wednesday webinar. If you would like to see more archived Wednesday webinars, please visit our YouTube channel. Or to find a schedule of upcoming live webinars, visit our website.